Hey everybody, my name is Stu Harrison. Welcome to another piano review. Today we have got the FP10 from Roland. We're going to be listening to this thing, putting it through its paces. It's just a complete beast for its price point. We're going to be looking at the action. We're going to be looking at its sound. We're going to be looking at how it integrates with all of Roland's cool apps, which really extend the functionality of this instrument. And of course, we're going to be putting this into context with where it sits with the rest of Roland's FP line. It is a lightweight, compact instrument that really is essentially the Roland PHA-4 action with a tiny little compartment built around it. When I look at this instrument and when I sit down and really think about what it delivers to the end user, essentially this is an instrument that if the only thing that you really have as a priority is a good solid piano sound and the action, and you're not looking for a ton of other onboard features, you don't really care about how powerful the onboard speakers need to be, the FP10 is a complete slam dunk, because the action that you're getting in the FP10 is exactly the same action as you're getting in the FP30 and the FP60, which means you'd have to spend more than 4 times the budget of the FP10 before you get any improvement in the action. That's just mind-blowing. The PHA-4 action that we are playing here today on the FP10 is actually Roland's top action from probably 5 or 6 years ago. So you think about how much you had to spend back then to get what you can now have, at least in Canadian dollars, for just $6.99. It's crazy. Thank you, by the way, Roland, for doing that. Side note, I remember the day Roland came in. Our Roland rep in the area, his name's David, he came in and he said, "Stu, I've got something for you to try." No idea what it was that he was talking about. He pulled me over, he had loaded an FP10 into the showroom, sat me down in front of it, asked me to play it. Didn't show me the model number. I honestly thought that it was some kind of a replacement for the FP30. It was that good. And then he told me, no, brand new model coming in, it's underneath that price point, and then he told me the price. I think we ordered something like 15 on the spot, just based on that one demo. It was just crazy good how much you get for the price. Anyway, so back to the action. So we've got the PHA-4 action now. That's coming with escapement. That's also coming with a nice ivory texture on top, so it helps a little bit with grip, whether it's a dry or a humid environment that you're in. So you're going to be really, really satisfied with that. Even for somebody with a few years of experience, if the action is really the priority here, this isn't going to disappoint. Moving on to the sound, the features, and the ports that you get. This is where you start to understand why the instrument is obviously a little bit on the cheaper side. The total wattage for the speakers on this thing is only 12 watts. So even when it's completely cranked up, this is not going to give you a whole ton of bass, and it's not going to fill up more than about a small room. So you need to be able to, possibly plug this into an amplifier or stereo if you want to get a nice full sound without having to use headphones. Brings me to the second point about the various ports that you get on the back of this. There's virtually none. So you've got the port for the pedal, which is a 1/4-inch jack. And then the only audio out that you get from this is actually like a 3.5 mil jack for what usually would be headphones. And so if you're looking for something with a lot of different discrete outs or an audio output that's separate from a headphone output, unfortunately this isn't going to give it to you. But again, please remember the price point. This is $6.99, or in US dollars even less. So we're still getting a lot for the money. In terms of the onboard functionality, not a lot in terms of buttons to navigate, but just like they do on a lot of the other products, Roland has done a great job of giving us kind of a little cheat sheet along, or rather in front of the keys. So this function button, which I used to just be scared of on instruments, because anytime I see function, I'm thinking I need to go digging 50 pages into a user manual. In this case, you really don't need the user manual at all. It's so intuitive. If you want to bring up, for example, the vibraphone sound, I'm just pressing and holding the function button, and then pressing vibraphone, and there you go. And of course, pressing it just on its own returns you to the default piano. And using that same function, you can go through all of the different types of sounds, which is acoustic piano, electric piano, there's some harpsichord, vibraphone, some organs, like a jazz organ, and string. Now, even though this is fairly basic, it still gives you the ability to layer sounds, which is pretty cool. And of course, you can still split the keyboard. You've got also the basics of an onboard metronome, which is really great. But beyond that, until you use the Bluetooth functionality, that's about the limit of what you can do here. So the FP10 really comes alive when you match it up with either a smartphone or a tablet and start using Roland's Bluetooth connection, which I have to say is remarkably easy to do. So we've got an iPad. I'm sure you are all familiar with what one of these is. I should mention that Roland also releases its software for Android, so you can use it with both platforms. Doesn't really matter whether you're a Mac user or an Android user. And I'm just going to pull up exactly how to get connected here, because it's very, very straightforward. So this is just a recommendation. I like to use an app called, the title is BLE-MIDI. It's basically a Bluetooth MIDI program that just manages the connection between this device and the piano device. So you can see that the FP10 already has black text and is not grayed out. It means it's in range, and I've already connected to it. If it wasn't, you could just press it and it would disconnect. In fact, if I press that, it goes offline, and then if I want to connect it again, it's there, it's in black, not connected. I press it once more, and we're connected. That's simple. So the two apps that are kind of directly related to the FP10 that you'll want to explore, the first one is called Piano Designer. Now this is for piano nerds out there who really want to dig in and customize the piano sound that they're able to use with the FP10. And so I'm in Piano Designer right now. You can see that on the screen, and that gives you quite a few parameters that you're able to edit with the acoustic piano sound on here. This does not work with any of the other basic sounds. We're only talking about the acoustic piano sound here. But you can see that you've got the ability to adjust the lid. And so with the lid open, this is kind of the sound. And all the way closed, a little bit more muted. So usually somewhere in the middle is great. You've got hammer response. That's one of those things that's you more perceive than actually hear. You've got string resonance, damper resonance. You've got key touch that you can adjust. Your master tuning is there. So this is pretty cool, because even on a basic instrument like this, you can still customize the piano playing experience to suit your needs. I think that's really great. The second app, which you're going to get a lot of use out of, is called the Piano Partner 2. And this is where essentially your device turns into a remote control, and you can use this to change sounds, to split the keyboard. So if we go into remote control, we can now see that we've got the ability to select various sounds. And we've got some electric pianos, like a whirly. But this is also where you get your split functionality. So this is where one half of the keyboard has one sound, one half of the keyboard has the other sound. So this might be in the left hand, let's say we want a bass and a cymbal. And in the right, let's say we want piano. Oop, that's electric. And then you can sort of do fun stuff like. You've got dual mode, which means, of course, you're blending two sounds at once, or twin piano, which is something that teachers would often use. So you've got both the keyboard split into two, but the ranges are matched. So pretty cool. So you can have two people at the keyboard both playing exactly the same pitches at the same time. And then you've got your metronome settings, which is always very handy. Loaded in this app as well is a bunch of demo music, and you can also use it as a wireless recorder, which is something that not a lot of people realize is even available to you. So that is kind of fun because the recorder's right here, and it's remarkably easy to use. So if we record, and so now we're going to just do a wireless recording. And so we press stop on there, and then right away, something like that. So where does the FP fit in the entire range of the FP line? Because we get these questions all the time, like, why would I get an FP30 if I can get an FP10 for a few $100s less? Or, you know, is the FP60 worth all of the extra money? Well, like I said at the very beginning of this review, the FP10 literally is a great piano action surrounded by a little bit of black plastic and a headphone jack. The functionality is pretty limited, but if the priority is getting the best action you can for the dollar, and speakers are not a big deal, onboard functions are not a big deal, and of course, lightweight is almost never a drawback. It's always a benefit because you can like throw this in a canvas bag and hop on a subway, bus, or run to a rehearsal with this. I know pro players that even use this just as a secondary instrument on stage because it's so light to bring to a gig. So if all of those things sound like priorities for you, and you're not going to miss big, bulky onboard speakers, and you're not going to miss, fancier LCD displays, or real-time EQ controls, etc., 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 the FP10 could be literally the perfect choice for you. Roland makes this an easy thing to buy. Obviously, you can buy it just as a slab online from a number of retailers, including us at Merriam Pianos, but they also offer it with a matching stand. Besides the fact that the headphone jack is the only output, the other kind of drag is that Roland is including a very basic pedal with the $699 price point. So one thing I would highly suggest is if you can upgrade it to Roland's more hefty sustain pedal. I think it's the FH-10 maybe, if that's the right thing. Anyway, whatever that pedal code is, I would definitely recommend getting it. Definitely increases the quality of the overall experience. All right, so thanks very much for sticking around to the end. Here is our rating of the FP10.